Hello, I'm Andy Stevenson, and welcome to another episode of A Winning Mindset, Lessons from the Paralympics, brought to you by the International Paralympic Committee and their long-standing partner Allianz. Together, our aim is that these podcasts can help you in your own personal and professional life. You'll be introduced to people who can inspire and change the way you think, with their stories of facing life's challenges, often helped by having the right team behind them. This is the final episode of the series, but if you're only just joining us for the first time, then please do subscribe and listen from the start to the likes of Johnny Peacock, Tatiana McFadden, and IPC President Andrew Parsons. That trio all featured in the stunning Netflix documentary Rising Phoenix, as did my next guest. In fact, she provided the film with its name, as well as some of its most striking scenes. We go out on a high with the defiant, brilliant Italian Paralympic wheelchair fencer, Bebe Vio. Bebe, there is so much I want to talk to you about. The Rising Phoenix film, your Art for Sport charity foundation, and of course your own Paralympic success. But to understand all that, I think we need to start with the context of why you are who you are. So at the age of 11, you were struck with a severe case of meningitis, which saw both of your legs amputated from the knee down and both arms amputated from the forearm, and left you with some facial scarring. As an 11-year-old, what are your memories of what must have been a horrible time for you?
I remember everything, but everything is like filtered from like the view of a 11 years old girl. So what I remember are all the good things of that moment. Yeah, of course, all the pain and everything else, but all my pain either was filtered by the good part of it. I remember my family came in. They came like every Saturday night. So for me, the Saturday night was the best day ever for pizza and film all together. You know, we are so Italian, so pizza once a week is a must. And so what else I remember, like all the amazing doctors who were helping me in that moment, all the amazing letters that I received from all my friends, from my coaches, from all my scout group, because I was part of the scout group, and from my schoolmate. And also it was quite a good period from what I remember. Then every time that I say these things, there are my parents behind me, and they used to say, okay, maybe you was too young, but that period was not that cool.
I mean, it's remarkable, particularly as a child. I mean, I think even as an adult, but as a child, it's remarkable to be able to focus on the positive side, or even find a positive side to all that, because it's no exaggeration to say you could have died from that meningitis.
Yeah, of course, like 97% of people used to, like, the average is 97% of people who died in the first 48 hours. So I think I was quite lucky. You know, in that moment, you don't have to fight for yourself, I think. Like, I think I'm alive just because I fought for my family, for my siblings. You know, if you are like in a bad situation, you are almost dying, you just have to think that if you're gonna die, maybe this is better for you, because the suffer and the pain, it comes after the disease, after the hospital, after everything. Because I know all my skin was like kind of open in a scar, and so my body was not there. Just my mind was there in some way. But when I was there, I just thought, okay, if I'm gonna die, maybe this is better for me, because this is too painful for me. But if I'm gonna die, my family, my siblings, my schoolmate, my fencing mate, my teammate, all of them, part of them is gonna die. So I don't want to see all the people like suffering about me, like around me. Maybe if I'm the one who's gonna suffer, all the other one around me, they're gonna be happier, because because I'm not gonna show them that this is painful. But I think the best way to find our happiness is to find others' happiness before. Because if I see my sister happy, if I see my schoolmate happy, if I see my coach happy, I'm gonna be happy too because of them. If you help the other to find their happiness, you're gonna be happy too.
It's very profound what you say there, and something I think we've all had to be more aware of in the last year or so, being kinder and more considerate of how others are feeling and trying to help others to be happy. How long did it take you and your family to accept what had happened to you and that your life was going to be very different because of the meningitis?
At the beginning, it looked so hard, either because, like in Italy, in that ages, it was 2008, and like disability in general was not really present. Like, of course, there were people with disabilities, of course, everywhere, but they were not famous. People with disability, they were like poor people with like pity people. So at the beginning, of course, was so hard. And then we got the lucky, thanks to my parents, in particular to my mom. She went to the Venice Marathon, that is like a marathon very, very famous in Italy. And there were both Alex Zanardi and Oscar Pistorius. So those two were the two first people with disability that I met. Thanks to them, I understood how much could be cool my life, how much was important to live like a normal life with even if you have a disability, how much was important sport in general, how much was important to enjoy your life through the sport.
You were very lucky to meet Alex Zanardi, the former motor racing driver who's gone on to become a Paralympic star in hand cycling and is an absolute hero, not just in Italy, but around the world. And of course, we're all thinking of Alex and his loved ones at the moment. He's going through another extremely difficult time in his life as he recovers from a serious cycling accident. But for you, back at that moment in your life, you couldn't have picked a better or more inspirational person to meet, could you?
It was unbelievable because, I didn't know anything about them. So I understood how much I was ignorant about this like new world, which is like the Paralympic sport in general. I have never seen someone with a prosthetics or like on the wheelchair before. Like to my opinion, when I was young, the wheelchair was just for like old people. So I didn't know what was exactly a prosthetics or that they were like people without legs or arms. I really didn't know anything about them. So it was unbelievable to me to understand my new life through like disability. And I couldn't believe that I could be part of the fencing environment again. At the beginning, I was like, no, this is for people with disability. I don't have a disability. And then my father came to me and he told me, like both my parents, they came to me and they told me, okay, you are you are disabled. You got a disability. It doesn't mean that if we give you back your legs, you're not a person with disability. You are still a person with disability. So at the beginning, I didn't want to do fencing on like wheelchair fencing. And then the first time that I tried to play wheelchair fencing again, I just fell in love with that again, and everything was almost the same of before. Everything was amazing. I was like, I don't know. I just lived my best moment of my life like 2 times.
Quite a few of the athletes I've spoken to on this series actually were doing a sport before an accident or illness, and then they were able to find that same sport again, or perhaps a slightly different version of that sport again. I think it's amazing, isn't it? It feels to me like, as you talk there, that finding wheelchair fencing must have been such a motivation for you and kept you going and in some ways possibly saved you. Would that be true?
Yeah, maybe the best thing ever was that I was part again of my team, because I had my same team of before, like of the stand-up fencing. So when I went back in the wheelchair fencing, I went back to my old gym, and they didn't have, of course, all the tools that you need to practice fencing. Like they didn't have the wheelchairs, and they didn't know how to teach fencing in the wheelchair. So everything was new for everyone. But my old coaches, they learned how to do fencing, how to teach fencing on the wheelchair. All my old teammates, they learned how to play fencing on the wheelchair. So everything was new for everyone. And this maybe was the things we were a good team before, but after that was something so great. And not only the fencing, but also all the changing room environment, because there you have to, of course, you have to be naked in front of the other. And they used to see me like with everything, like with legs, with the arms, without disability, without all the skin. So was so weird to me at the beginning to be naked in front of them. But either that was something so big that we both learn, and that was great, because at the beginning, of course, we were so young, all of us, we were so young. So at the beginning, my prosthetics was a kind of game for everyone, was a play. We used to play with the prosthetics, we used to play with the legs, with the wheelchair, with everything. So what the really cool thing was being part of the group again, and the fact that they was watching me on my eye on the same way of before. Nothing changed.
It's a very defiant thing that comes across from you to be describing there about you in the changing rooms and showing people, right, this is my body now, and you accept it or you don't. But did you ever have people who, I mean, maybe now even in your everyday life, you must have people who stare at you, possibly laugh at you, make jokes. How do you deal with that?
Maybe the problem is that I'm the first one who joke about me. And we are so Italian, so we used to joke about everything. Everything is a kind of joke. Everything is it's something on which you can play on. I think it's much more easier to play about someone else if you are the first to play about yourself. So either because this is something of my family, my father and my mother, they used to laugh about everything, either like very, very bad things, kind of like similar to a disability or a disease or death or life or everything. So I think this was the best things ever because they taught me how to play about me, how to joke about me.
I completely understand what you're saying about that. And I find, I mean, people get very bored of me making jokes about arms and legs. But I think if you own the joke yourself, then it diffuses an awkward topic, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. What I'm looking for is just people who can like see my disability as kind of opportunity in general. So many times they like, I learned how to live by myself because when I was so young, I was part of the national team. So we travel a lot. I was 14 years old. So just after 3 years after my disability. So I really had to learn how to live by myself, how to do everything by myself. And then 3 years ago, I moved to my own house. So I learned how to cook, how to do everything. So these things was so important to me to do everything by myself. And these things, it's so crazy because when I moved to live with some roommate, the crazy thing was that I was the only one with disability, but I have to help them and teaching them how to cook or how to do it.
Just one more question about your disability, Bebe, and then we'll focus on your achievements and other things. But I was just wondering, is it possible to say either back then when you were a child or maybe even now as an adult, what was it that upset you most? Was it the limb loss or the facial scarring, for example, and the scarring you've been left with on your body?
I really don't know how to answer to this question, but I learned how to live my life again, and I learned how to enjoy my life so much. So I think that if you do something that you really, really love, you are not scared of anything. Maybe you're scared about something, but I see my disability. I see everything about my disability, but every time that I find something that I like officially I cannot do, they used to tell me, okay, no, this is impossible. You cannot do that because you have a disability. You cannot do that because you have prosthetics and all. Every time that I find this situation is the moment in which I really enjoy it because I must do that. Of course, I'm gonna do that. Maybe I need much more time. Maybe I need much more tries, but that's the moment in which like I just wake up so much and I just say, okay, guys, I must do that.
Let's talk about the Paralympics. I know your first connection really to the Paralympics was you were a torchbearer, weren't you, for London 2012, representing athletes of the future. How much did that experience inspire you?
So much. It was my first Paralympic game. I have never seen a Paralympic game before. I of course, I knew about the Olympic, but I didn't know about the Paralympic. But this is the reality. So when I came there, I was there, of course, as you told, as a torchbearer, representing the future Paralympics, and that was so scary for me because I was just began doing like wheelchair fencing, and being there and representing the future Paralympic athlete was so scary because I was there with my amazing torch, and I was there thinking about, okay, maybe now I'm representing them, but I don't know if I could be a Paralympic athlete for part of the Paralympic game. So I was so scared, but also so much emotion were in me. It was amazing. I cried for the whole from Piccadilly Circus till Trafalgar Square. Was amazing, really, really amazing. During the Paralympic, I was already there. I was working for Sky Television, and I had my own channel in which I was like, how was the Paralympic Games seen through the eye of a young athlete, young future athlete. I really lived all the emotions of everyone. And of course, every day I was in the fencing room, in the fencing field, and I was there dreaming about the moment, dreaming about me being there and being part of that things. When I saw the medal ceremony, I was there and was crying. I was saying, okay, one day I'm going to be there. I want to be there. I'm dreaming about it. Of course, I have to be there. That's my dream. So being in Rio de Janeiro 4 years after was, I don't know. I don't know really how to describe it.
You won Paralympic gold in Rio, and your celebration of that gold medal is one of the most intense celebrations I've seen in any sport ever.
And there it is. The coach jumps to his feet. Vio's celebrations are just incredible as that performance. The 19-year-old from Venice in Italy just doesn't know what to do with herself. The emotions so raw.
Can you talk us through what was going on in your mind in those moments?
Since when you are 5 years old, I was dreaming about the Olympic. And then at 11 years old, I had the meningitis. So they told me that my dream was not possible. So when I began again doing Paralympic fencing, but like after a few years, I understood that maybe my dream was already possible. The Paralympic Games has something more, because you fought a lot to be there. At the beginning, they told me, okay, you cannot do fencing. You have to change the sport. Go and run. I don't know. Go and swim. I was like, no, I want to do fencing. Please let me be part of this. I want to be on that witch. I want to be there. So we fought a lot for that. After the final exam of the high school, that was going in a good way. And then, so my parents, they told me, okay, if you don't have like a high grade at the high school, you will never go to the Paralympic. After the final exam, I trained so hard and finally was there. But the day before leaving in Italy to live in Rome, to be in Rio de Janeiro, at my last training, I had a bad injury to my arm. I spent the whole 2 weeks there during the Paralympic game, crying all the time and not thinking that dream was already possible. And then you know that you fought so much, but then the day before you had an injury. So I was like, again, I cannot do that again. So I passed the entire 2 weeks trying to train as best as I can. And then I was not sure to do the game until 2 days before. So it was so hard. And that's why I cried so much. That's why I screamed so much, because I really, 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 really wanted that medal.
Look at that. Just what this moment means to the young Italian.
All of the emotion came spilling out of you. I urge people listening who maybe haven't seen it, it's there on YouTube and just watch that celebration. And actually it made me think, and a couple of my colleagues think, about great Italian sporting celebrations, because you're a very passionate nation. And I think about, I know you're probably a little bit too young for this, but I'm sure your parents remember Marco Tardelli in the World Cup of 1982 and Toto Schillaci at 1990, and then we see kind of Ferrari fans at the Formula One. You're a very passionate nation, and that celebration of yours at Rio was just right up there with any of those iconic moments, I think.
Marco Tardelli came to me the year after the Paralympic, after that scream, Marco Tardelli came to me and he said, my scream was the most famous in Italy, and now you're yours. I'm not so happy about it.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Now, all of this brings us nicely onto the Netflix documentary Rising Phoenix, because that Rio celebration is one of the most dramatic moments of the film. And you're one of the key stars. It's a documentary about the Paralympics. And in actual fact, you are the Rising Phoenix who the film is named after. Let's hear a clip from the documentary now.
At the age of 12, I was part of a scout group. They gave you like this kind of nickname. My name was the Rising Phoenix because the phoenix can live and die and burn and then live again. My scout group saw me in each step, living, burning, dying, and then live again.
So, how did you first learn about the film and how did you come to be involved?
The directors of the film, they came to my parents first time and they told them that they want me to be part of the film. And for us it was kind of crazy because I've never been part of like a kind of real film or a real documentary. So we really thought that this film could do like a big change in people's minds. So we just need to show to the people how much is great and how is amazing the Paralympic sport and the Paralympic life. Paralympic athlete between like the Olympic athlete, the difference is just the story. Both of them, they have a great, physically opportunity and strengths. And Paralympic athlete has all of them. They have like amazing background, amazing stories, amazing, not like impossible thing that they made possible. I think the best things of the film is that there's no one story. The film doesn't show heroes. I personally don't believe in heroes. I just believe in people. I just believe because I just think that everyone can do everything. It just if they believe in it and if they believe in their team, if they believe in their self, if they believe in the population in general. So I think that the cool thing of the film is that it shows people who had so many bad luck and bad situation and bad everything, but then through that bad situation they found out how to be a better person, how to live a better life, how to fight in some way, and how to fight in some situation. How much of family and teams can be part of the change.
Your depiction in the documentary is stunning. You're filmed in a stately home of some kind, and it's beautifully lit. You're wearing body armor, but all your limbs and scars are on show, and a picture of Defiance. Where was that filmed, and how long did it take?
The interview was so long, maybe because I speak quite a lot. Probably it's my fault. We were in an amazing villa close to Rome. And the dress that I had is a dress who was made by Christian Dior, because the fashion director of Christian Dior she's a woman, and she's the first Italian and woman fashion director in a like such a big house as Dior. And so I really appreciate it because she became a friend of mine, and she made this dress for another event, and we used for that moment because she thought about this dress, thinking about me, about like my heart, I don't know, and about fencing. That's why all the sword was there, and it was cool either because the villa is amazing, the dress was amazing, so I just put my face there.
Now, one other thing is that I know your family has set up a charitable foundation called Art for Sport, and I believe the aim is to try and provide children with disabilities opportunities to take part in sport. Tell us about that.
When I began doing fencing, disability sport was not known. There were just old people being part of the sport. And we didn't know the reason why just old people were doing Paralympic sport. And then we understood that, we were new of the sport, of the Paralympic environment. We didn't know how much a prosthetics cost. We didn't know how much a wheelchair could cost. So, and we understood that the Italian government doesn't pay for the Paralympic, for the like sport tools and sport equipment for people with disability. So, of course, if you are 6 years old and you want to run, like an average family doesn't have the money to buy a prosthetics and all. So it's not necessary to dream about a Paralympic game, but the things that you want to do is just take out all the young guys from the house, from their room, from the living room, and just put them on the field. Just put them in a gym. Just put them in part of the team. Now we are 38 guys from 3 years old to 33 years old, I suppose. I just love how the face of a young guy, of a 6-year-old, of 3 or 6 or 10 or 12 years old guy how their face change before and after playing sport, how their lives change, how the family change, either because we are all like young guy and we are all like depending on our family, but we depend on them like emotionally. So if the children is happy, the mother and the father, they are happy. If the children is sad, both parents are so sad about it. So we want to make like all the children so happy through the sport, and thanks to the happiness of the children, all the family is going to be better. They're going to feel better and they're going to feel to be part of a team. So we are trying to change people's life and young people's life. My parents, they are doing like an amazing job, and they are changing all the perception of the Paralympic sport. I just love them so much, how much they are working and how effort they are putting in this kind of job.
Well, the whole project sounds amazing, so this feels like the perfect time to surprise you and hear from two of the young people who've been helped by Art for Sport. Have a little listen to this.
I'm 9 years old and my name is Ephraim. I love running. Thanks to Art for Sport, I have prosthetic leg that allow me to do sport and play with my friends. Bye!
Art for Sport is mainly a second family that has given me many opportunities, both from a sporting and psychological point of view. It not only gives sport prosthesis, but it improves the lives of all the kids who are part of it, helping them to overcome daily difficulties, and that is why I will always be grateful too. Thanks.
There you go. How does that make you feel?
Oh, oh mio Dio.
I should give them a name check. That was 9-year-old Ephraim Bonner and 16-year-old Riccardo Cattaneo. So it must make you and your parents feel very proud to hear from the actual children you're helping.
Yeah, I love them so much. And yeah, I recognize both of them from the voices. And they are amazing. Ephraim, he really, really literally grow with us, because we met him so many years ago and we saw him growing up, either like Riccardo, Ricky. So it's amazing how their lives change through the sport. And so we are so proud of them.
Now, I'm sure we could speak for hours. I'm sure you could speak for hours, actually, Bebe. I mean that in a very nice, positive way. But we could speak for a long time. But I'll just ask you a couple of questions to finish. You're still only 23 years old. How much more do you think you can achieve in your career?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm so scared about this next Paralympic Games. So I really don't know if I'm going to pass that. So I don't know if I'm going to be part of the next one. So my dream is to be in Los Angeles 2028, because according to our statistics that we did and on which we are working, we thought that 2028, like the Los Angeles 2028, the Paralympic game, that one is gonna be like the real like second step after London 2020 and 2012. So thinking about the claim that had the London 2012 that was inspiring a generation, that was what made me start doing like sport, like in a real situation, like in really, really as my kind of job.
You mentioned LA, and you actually went to the White House, didn't you, a couple of years ago and met Barack Obama?
Yeah, it was cool.
I mean, not everyone can say that. That's a pretty unique experience.
Yeah, the house is so big. Barack and Michelle, they are so funny and they are super chill.
Wow.
Yeah, they're funny and chill. They are super easy. And it was so cool. The food was not that good, but because I'm Italian, so.
They didn't do you pasta, no? Or pizza, no?
They did some, like so many different things. It was a kind of mix between Italian and American food. Though my grandmother she's a much better cooker, so I can bring my grandmother next time there.
Now, obviously, people listening, they'll be able to tell how positive and optimistic and happy you are, but you must have days where you feel down, like everyone else. Some days you must feel that life is a bit unfair. I mean, do you? And if you do, how do you get through those days?
every time everyone used to say I got my hero, I take my inspiration from someone else, but as the voices that you listen before, they are my biggest inspiration, like Efrem, Ricardo, and all the other guy part of our team of the non-profit association of the art of sport. They are my greatest inspiration ever. So if you have a great team like that, and if you have to show them that you are always happy, that is the reason why I'm doing my sport. That is the reason why I'm working so hard for the Paralympic movement. That is the reason why I wake up like so happy every day, because I know that I'm gonna meet them like every day, because I train every day with some of them, and so I always have to look happy and to show my happiness in order to like try to convince them to do more, to be more, and to train more.
Bebe, so much of your approach seems to be about helping others, and as you've said, making other people feel good about themselves. It's so well deserved that you've had your moments in the spotlight, and it's been an honour to speak to you. I've wanted to interview you for a long, long time, and watching Rising Phoenix only increased that. So thank you for your time, and I'm sure people listening will have learned so much from you.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks to Bebe Vio, her passion and defiance just come bounding across the airwaves. A real icon of not just the Rising Phoenix film, but also of disability, disfigurement, and what the Paralympic movement stands for. And that's it, the 20th and final episode of this series of A Winning Mindset Lessons from the Paralympics podcast, brought to you by the International Paralympic Committee and their long-standing partner Allianz. I hope you've enjoyed all 20 interviews. Do leave a review and tell us which one was your favourite. It's been a great few months speaking to so many athletes around the world. I've shared laughter with Johnny Peacock, Ellen Keane, RJ Mitty, and as you've just heard, Bebe Vio. I've learnt about things I had little experience of with Mika Horsberg, Todd Hodgetts, Husna Kukandakwe, and Kaleo Kanahela-Maclay. I've sat spellbound as Grace Wembalua, Bruno Bosniak, and Ali Velazquez told me their stories. I've listened with admiration to Paralympic legends Tatiana McFadden, Greg Polychronidis, Sharif Osman, Manuela Scher, and Marcus Rem. I've talked to young Paralympians Daniel Chan, Peter Pau-Kiss, and Carlos Serrano, who've already achieved so much and still have so much time to achieve more. And I've picked up leadership skills from IPC President Andrew Parsons. Thanks to all of them, but most of all thanks to you for listening, subscribing and reviewing. Look out for more episodes hopefully later in the year, but it's goodbye for now.